Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Your Excellency Tanja Fajon, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Foreign and European Affairs of Slovenia. Your Excellency Liu Zhenmin, Special Envoy for Climate Change of China and the former Under-Secretary General of United Nations. Distinguished Ambassador to China. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings and warm welcome to Center for China and Globalization. Welcome to CCG Global Dialogues series. Today's event is jointly organized by Center for China and Globalization and the Bled Strategic Forum of Slovenia. Our forum today is titled Navigating the Future, Strategic Imperative for Global Resilience. Participants will delve into proactive strategies for long-term global resilience, the adaptation of governance frameworks, and the infusion of innovative measures to global strategies, fostering collaboration and forward thinking. We sincerely anticipate the insights and the perspectives will be shared later. Firstly, let us invite the representatives of today's event hosts to deliver the opening remarks. Let us welcome Dr. Henry Huiyao Wang. Dr. Henry Huiyao Wang is a founder and president of Center for China and Globalization. He is a former Counselor of State Council in China. Floor is yours, Dr. Wang. Please join me a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Miao. Your Excellency Tanja Fajon, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign and European Affairs of Slovenia. Your Excellency Liu Zhenmin, Special Envoy and Climate Change of China and former Under-Secretary General of the Economic and Social Affairs of the United Nations. Dear ambassadors, Mr. Peter Greek, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to today's event. Welcome the Slovenia government delegation to visit China. We are very privileged to have this event, to attend, to have the Bled Strategic Forum to co-organize this with this event today. I had the privilege of visiting Slovenia and also attend the Bled Strategic Forum. So I had profound admiration of the Slovenia, which is a very beautiful country. So the Bled Strategic Forum wields significant influence, and we're delighted to collaborate with them. CCG is a non-government think tank, and actually we are ranked top 100 think tanks in the world, and also has been granted the special consultant status. Only Chinese think tank that has been granted special consultant status in China. So we are specialized in the global governance and the international relations, China-US relations, China-European relations. And we are very pleased to have established collaboration with BSF for the past years. And we're pleased to welcome all of you. So the potential for the development of relation between China and Slovenia is enormous. On May 12, 1992, the two countries established formal diplomatic relations. And in May 2022, President Xi Jinping and President Paha exchanged the congratulatory message on the 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations between China and Slovenia. So we have a very long diplomatic relations. And China and Slovenia have established mechanisms such as the Economic Joint Commission and Committee for Scientific and Technology Cooperation, and have signed numerous cooperation documents, including Memorandum of Understanding on jointly build the Belt and Road, and also the exchanges of various fields has continued to deepen. For example, in 2022, the bilateral trade between China and Slovenia reached 7.45 billion, a year-on-year increase of 24.4%. So today we are very pleased to have this great event. I really appreciate all of you coming on Saturday, but you can see how enthusiastic we we have attached to welcome our Slovenia friends to visit in China. And and also we know that Slovenia has been elected as a UN Security Council member, which is also very important. And we have actually invited the 6 UN Security Council member countries to attend the event today. So they have ambassador from China, from Guyana, and also Japan, Malta, and Slovenia, and Switzerland. They are member countries of the Security Council. But we also have other ambassadors from Cyprus, from Jordan, from Palestinian attending our event today. And of course, we have also representative from China Friendship Association with foreign countries, and we have a representative from Ministry of Foreign Affairs with us, and we have scholars from famous universities in China. We have Global Young Leaders Dialogues attending our event. And also, we know that this year we're going to have a UN Future Summit, which is very, very important. And we have so many UN Security Council member countries represented today. It's a really gathered in China is very important. And also, especially, we have a newly appointed China envoy for the climate change, former Vice Minister Liu Zhenmin, also attending our event. So welcome all of you. So I think this is an event where we have with high expectations, and we are going to really listen to all of you. And so this is really increasingly importance of the that we are facing the challenges today, and we're going to discuss in today's event. So I'll stop here, and I'd like to extend my warmest welcome to all of you again, and thank Deputy Prime Minister visiting CCG and visiting China. Thank you.
Following Henry's speech, we extend a warm welcome to Mr. Peter Gerg for his opening remarks. Representing our distinguished partner organization, the Bled Strategic Forum, which is not only a major foreign affairs event of the year in Slovenia, but also the highest standard international conference in Central and Southeast Europe. Floor is yours, Peter.
Thank you very much, Mabel. I'm going to be brief. Let me tell you just a couple of things that I noticed in my short visit in China. It's my first time in China and in Beijing. And of course, as everybody, I was very, very impressed with the development of China in the last decades. But I was even more impressed with another thing. And this is the hospitality that I was offered here, be it from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, be it from the CCG. This hospitality is something that it won't be forgotten. So thank you very much again, CCG. I really value our partnership. I value our collaboration, and I'm looking forward to our endeavors also in the future. Actually, I have a hard task now because I have to return this hospitality in Bled, but I will try my best. So, Henry, Mabel, thank you very much again. You know how this Chinese proverb goes, may we live in interesting times. I think this proverb holds true, especially now in the times that we are living in. And I would actually say that we are not just living in interesting times, but in highly volatile and highly dangerous times. You know, Italian philosopher Gramsci once said that when the old world is dying and the new world hasn't been born yet, the monsters come. And we are in this period of time when the monsters are coming. And it's going to be very, very important that we, as a global community, understand the times that we are living in, but that we also take lessons learned from the past and try to work together in order to make this global community sustainable and prosperous. What we learned in Slovenia as a small country, also now being a member of the UN Security Council, is one thing. And this is for me a strategic imperative, if you want to call it. What we learned is that we are living in a highly divided society. There is a lot of particular interests and not a lot of solutions which would look at the common good, as UN Secretary General said in one of his speech. Common good. So for us, as a small country, our imperative is to listen. Not just to talk, not just to stay in its own silos, but to actually listen to other global players, to other countries, with whom we may not necessarily agree on all the points, but we will try, and we are trying to understand their positions, to understand their goals, to understand their ideas. And through this understanding, we hope that we can come to common solutions which are going to actually contribute to this common good, to a global community which is going to be peaceful, stable, and sustainable. So in this sense, also this roundtable is a small contribution to these discussions, to trying to understand one another, trying to listen to one another, and see where are these common goals, common issues that we need to address in order to move forward from the situation that the global community is currently facing. You all know the problems, you all know the issues that are on the table, and I think it's high time that we move from just analyzing the situation and trying to do everything that we can to find solutions. So thank you once again for this meeting. Thank you, CCG, for offering us this opportunity, and I wish you all nice and constructive debates. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Peter. Next, we are honored to have Her Excellency Ms. Tanja Fajon, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign and European Affairs, Republic of Slovenia, deliver a keynote speech. May I introduce about Her Excellency? Her Excellency Tanja Fajon was a very well-known journalist in Slovenia. She was first elected to European Parliament in 2009 on behalf of the Social Democrats, and again in 2014 and 2019. During her parliamentary term, she was consistently active in the Committee on Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs, and the Committee on Foreign Affairs. During her second parliamentary term, she served as vice chair of the group of Progressive Alliance of Socialists and Democrats in the European Parliament, and was the only Slovenia ever to be named twice among the 40 most influential MEPs by the influential magazine Politico. In 2020, she was elected president of the Social Democrats at SD Congress. So please join me to give a big round of applause to Her Excellency. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One good morning, maybe good day already. And I have to say that it's a very great honor and also great privilege to be here today with you. And thank you for coming on a Saturday morning and organizing together CCG together with the Bled Strategic Forum today's event. and for all your participation. For Slovenia, being here in China is an amazing experience, and I would like just to share a few thoughts and impressions, if you allow me, after 4 days of official visit to China, my first one to China, but with a very significant meaning. We spoke together with my host, the Chinese foreign minister, some months ago when Slovenia became an observer in the UN Security Council. And I found extremely important that we carry on our dialogue, that we continue our discussions. Our campaign for becoming a member to UN Security Council was called Building Trust and Securing Future. And building trust is exactly what I would call it after this week. Being here for 4 days, experiencing this amazing hospitality, and a lot of talks with my counterparts on the political level, also on the economic level, with civil society, academia, so with the media, it is an eye-opener. And what I say is we might have differences coming from different sides of the world, be it cultural, be it historical differences. But for that reason, it is important that we have a dialogue, that we can understand each other, that we can listen to each other, and mostly hear each other. Because at the end of the day, we have so many global challenges that we have to address together. And this is what this week was about, building trust and addressing global challenges together. And at the end of the day, it's our common shared responsibility, peace and security, and defending international law and UN Charter. So I am in a way very proud because Slovenia in these first months is showing a very consistent approach to different parts of the globe. We want to discuss with all different partners and regions, exactly for the reason that we carry out the dialogue despite the differences and try to find compromises to fight together global challenges. And I will just echo at the end the words of the foreign minister from China, which I really liked. He said, Slovenia might be a small country, but with a big diplomacy. And this is, let's say, my guidance for the future that are very challenging future for all of us. And now on the topic of today, to survive future challenges, we will have to find certainly an effective way to truly global resilience. Today's challenges are all interlinked and are largely exceed the capacity of any single country or region to confront them on their own, be it small or be it big one. The fact that we are faced with numerous armed conflicts, I think we count around 55 of them, that are creating millions of refugees and displaced persons, as well as rising poverty and inequality, water stress, food insecurity, interdependent triple planetary crisis, or climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution shows that we more than ever need effective multilateralism with strong United Nations at its core. And the current multilateral system, unfortunately, often lacks efficiency. We see it today, and swift reaction when tackling global challenges. And we do not have to reinvent it, but to make the global governance work, we need a multilateral system built on trust, respect, and, as I said, international law, in which the United Nations, its agencies, the international financial institutions, the regional organizations, and others would work in synergy. We need the United Nations adapted to new realities and resilient against future shocks. And in order to achieve all that, we must first of all be consistent in full implementing the commitments we have already taken. Second, we should make use of the processes under our common agenda, and particularly the Summit of the Future, which present a step in the right direction towards the reinvigorated and reformed UN system fit for today and future. And when I'm speaking about the Summit for the Future, I can say that this September, when will be a high-level week, Slovenia will be also presiding the Security Council. So we are working hard to make this month a successful one. They also have the potential to put implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals back on track and reform financing for development. And the expectations from the Summit of the Future are high, and we must all work to meet them. To secure a better future for all of us, we must do more. In the distinguished panel, we have representatives we heard from the states that are members of the UN Security Council, and this is indeed, one could argue, one of the most important bodies within the UN system. And the same stipulates it deals with peace and security issues, but as mentioned before, the spectrum of security-related questions is expanding. As being a member now for the second time in history, Slovenia was first time a member of the Security Council between 1998 and 1999, we can see firsthand how the world has changed in the last 20 years. This is why we included climate change today among the thematic priorities of our membership, as we believe that this will become more and more, albeit maybe indirectly, also part of the UN Security Council agenda. On climate crisis. Climate crisis is looming. We can face this in different parts of the world. Just look to Dubai last week, but also looking to Slovenia. Some months ago, we faced the worst floods in the history of our country. And a year before, we experienced serious drought and the biggest wildfires. Science is clear. The only way forward is phasing out of fossil fuels. The global stocktake of the Paris Agreement showed we are doing far from enough for efficient climate change mitigation and adaptation. And in the framework of COPE process, we need to be more ambitious and more decisive. China was instrumental in achieving COP15, Kunming-Montreal Protocol on Biodiversity, and is a leader also in the climate negotiations. So we commend China for its contribution in green energy transition, in particular in investing significantly into renewables and energy efficiency. We in Slovenia are also undertaking this path. On science and technology. Science and technology are crucial. We need to invest more, but we need also to use it better. Early warning for disaster risk prevention based on space technologies, in particular satellite imagery, well developed by Slovenian companies, improves predictability of flooding and enhances the security of food and water supply, land use, and construction planning, among others, and thus contributes to standard of living and economic growth. On water and nature-based solutions, water is another key priority. Slovenia is one of the rare countries that has written access to quality and healthy water in our constitution. We call for transboundary cooperation in preservation and sustainable use of water resources, as water and water-related ecosystems are crucial for effective climate actions. At the last two COPs, we saw progress, but let us be frank, it was not enough. We were not ambitious enough. Now we need to strengthen the awareness on the relevance of water, water-related ecosystems, for mitigation as well. Nature plays an immense role in every aspect of our lives and is one of stronger allies in tackling climate change. However, biodiversity loss and degraded ecosystems accelerate climate change and its negative impacts. And to reach the ambitious goals and biodiversity goals, as well as to achieve sustainable development goals, we need to maximize synergies between climate and biodiversity action with the implementation of nature-based solutions as a key instrument for addressing these challenges. And nature-based solutions can create jobs and contribute also to economic and very important social development. Let me mention just transition. We need to assure a just green transition and climate justice for all. And climate justice is about finance. It's about human rights, access to justice and solidarity. One of major achievements of last COP is the decision on the loss and damage fund. And Slovenia was among the first to pledge a contribution to the fund, 1.5 million euro. It's a large contribution. If we look at the GDP of our country, we can compare ourselves to other bigger countries in the EU. And in addition to that, our government contributed also the same amount of money to the second replenishment of the International Green Climate Fund. And climate and environmental related issues are also a priority theme for our development partnerships and assistance. Inclusiveness, gender responsive action, and human rights-based approach are crucial for efficient climate and wider environment action, and we are happy with the inclusion of the right to clean and healthy environment in the COP outcome documents, but still need to do more for its implementation. And solidarity means also listening to each other and understanding each other's position. On climate and security nexus, climate change and increasing water scarcity are risk drivers that can exacerbate the existing conflicts, can provoke new conflicts, and even threaten the very existence of states. During our candidature for the UN Security Council, many countries, especially small ones or more remote from here, raised the issue of climate and water security and asked us to pay attention to this issue if elected to the UN Security Council. And we promised we would, and we keep our promise. Our focus is on prevention and peace building. We firmly support the work of the climate security mechanisms and climate advisors on the ground. And there is a growing understanding of the intricate links between climate change, environmental degradation, resource scarcity, and conflict. And in addition to several open debates and discussions in the area formula on climate security in last years, the open debate under the Guyana presidency on climate and food security in February this year is an evidence of growing awareness of the complex interconnectedness between climate change and conflicts. So we listened attentively to the statement of China at the open debate back in February in New York, and we cannot but to agree with the assessment about emerging common understanding of the relationship between climate change and security. We also fully agree that specific connections and interplay between the two has to be further analyzed and understood. So that was about the topic of today, which I find, as I said, interlinked with everything that is globally happening around the world, with challenges that we are facing. It's very much interlinked. Unfortunately, you know well that what the Security Council is doing in the last weeks and months is trying to bring peace in the Middle East and also in Ukraine, to major conflict areas, but also in the other parts of the globe. But just to mention, to see the paralysis and inefficiency in the Security Council, where we are not in a position to really adopt a resolution that can bring peace to people in Gaza, to end the conflict, to ensure security for Israelis and Palestinians living side by side, that we are having so different positions. What does it mean to end the human suffering? I said few times in the past, the world has fallen on the test of humanity. So it is our, dear friends, shared responsibility that we are aware of all these challenges and that we try to address them together, that we try to address them through dialogue and through the existing mechanisms. So I can just encourage us to cooperate, have loud voice when it's necessary, and mostly what is important, protect civilians, children, and people in need all around the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister, for your inspiring and stimulating speech. Next, we welcome His Excellency Mr. Liu Zhenmin, Special Envoy for Climate Change of China and the former Under-Secretary General for Economic and Social Affairs of United Nations, to present the keynote speech. Allow me introduce briefly about Ambassador Liu Zhenmin. His Excellency Mr. Liu Zhenmin, named as China's Special Envoy for Climate Change on 12 January 2024. Previously, he had served as the Under-Secretary General for United Nations, Department of Economic and Social Affairs from 2017 to 2022. Prior to that, he had served as Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs of China after a 30-year career in Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China. Floor is yours, Ambassador.
Thank you, Marble, for this beautiful introduction, and thank you the CCCG for this kind invitation. Your Excellency, Deputy Prime Minister Fajon, President Wang of the Center for China and Globalization, and Secretary General Guk of the Bled Strategic Forum of Slovenia. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great honor to join you today. Let me start by congratulating Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Fajon for her successful visit to China. I have honor to join her to offering another keynote speech, but my speech will be very short. Dear colleagues, as our human beings enters the post-pandemic era, our world continues to face four major challenges. First, geopolitical conflicts have created the biggest political crisis since the end of the Second World War. Second, the global economy is having a hard time recovering, and the process of economic globalization has encountered setbacks. Third, climate change severely threatens human survival and development. Fourth, rapid development in artificial intelligence have caused significant unease about the future. In this context of the multiple challenges toward peace and development, our meeting today to discuss global resilience is of great significance. Looking forward to strengthening global resilience, I wish to share the following 4 points. First, safeguarding world peace to lay the foundation for global prosperity and development. Peace is a prerequisite for global resilience and foundation for common security and growth across nations. Since the end of the Cold War in 1991, the world has enjoyed over 3 decades of stability, ushering in a golden age for rapid economic development. Today, although peace and development remain the prevailing trend of our times, there are new tensions. Major power rivalry and confrontation, the prolonged Ukraine crisis, and the ongoing Palestine-Israeli conflict, and other regional hotspot issues continue to arise. In our Asia-Pacific region, there are emerging signs that warrant high vigilance. Over the past year, the South China Sea has seen a lot of tension with intensified military cooperation among the US, Japan, and the Philippines. At a trilateral meeting last week, on April 11th, they announced several measures to deepen cooperation in defense. This approach introduces new external influences into East Asia and creates exclusionary political blocs posing great danger. Dear colleagues, we must carefully review the historical experiences, cherish and safeguard world peace, respect national sovereignty and territorial integrity, resolve conflicts peacefully, replace zero-sum games with win-win cooperation, and strive to create a more harmonious and stable environment for the healthy development of the world. Second, improving economic globalization to sustain the vitality and momentum of the global economic growth. Economic resilience is a crucial aspect of global resilience. Currently, the global economy is struggling to recover, and growth momentum is insufficient. The World Bank has made a pessimistic prediction that the average annual global economic growth rate for the current decade will drop to a low of 2.2%, which it calls a lost decade for the world economy. Some countries, in a bid for narrower self-interest, have built small yard and high fence and pursued decoupling or de-risking. That not only hinders their own development, but also weakens economic globalization and slows global economic growth. We must and we need to reinvigorate economic dynamism and push for a more universally beneficial and inclusive form of economic globalization. Universally beneficial means growing the economic pie and dividing it fairly so that people from different countries, different social classes, and different groups can all participate in and share the fruits of economic and social development. Inclusive means supporting countries in taking developed paths suited to their national conditions rather than imposing a one-size-fits-all model. This approach will help maintain the stability and smooth functioning of the global industrial and supply chains, ensuring the vitality and the momentum of global economic growth. Third, actively addressing climate change to achieve green, low carbon, and sustainable development. The climate crisis profoundly impacts human survival and development. Tackling climate change is a crucial task for achieving global resilience. The adoption of the 1992 United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the UNFCCC, established the concept of sustainable development and initiated international cooperation on climate change. The Paris Agreement in 2015 significantly strengthened international cooperation by setting out long-term temperature goals of 1.5 degrees centigrade to 2 degrees centigrade and aiming to reach global peaking of greenhouse gas emissions as soon as possible. It also set out to achieve the balance between the anthropogenic emissions by sources and the removals by sinks of greenhouse gases in the second half of this century, introducing many innovative regulations like national determined contributions, the NDCs, and global stocktakes. The Glasgow Climate Pact in 2021 further urged the state parties to achieve net zero emissions around mid of this century. At COP28 in Dubai last December, the first global stocktake of Paris Agreement was successfully completed, showcasing humanity's resolve to speed up low carbon development and embrace green transformation and move away from fossil fuels. Currently, the green transformation is a clear global trend, with 151 countries having set goals for carbon neutrality. These countries account for 92% of the global GDP, 89% of the global population, and 88% of global emissions. All these have demonstrated that humanity is moving towards a decarbonized era in line with the objectives and the pathways of the Paris Agreement. Dear colleagues, we must also recognize that human efforts are still far from efficient. International climate cooperation needs further strengthening. In recent years, the world has experienced frequent natural disasters such as wildfires, heat waves, and floods. The average temperature in 2023 was over 1.4 degrees centigrade higher than pre-industrial levels, making it the hottest year on record. Experience shows that we need to strengthen global climate cooperation within a framework of sustainable development with a focus on enhancing implementation to ensure the sustained success of the UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement. Fourth, strengthening the governance of artificial intelligence to ensure that this new technology benefits humanity. The AI has reached a crucial stage of explosive development. It will provide significant impetus for energy in transformation and industrial upgrading and profoundly affect human production and way of life. However, due to the absence of the governance rules, differences in national policies, and technology gaps, AI also poses many new challenges. During my 5 years tenure as Under-Secretary General of the United Nations, we convened annual meetings of the Internet Governance Forum, that IGF, for 5 consecutive years, without, unfortunately, establishing any digital governance rules, due to the differences among member states. The IGF will commemorate its 20th anniversary next year, and its mandate will be reviewed by the World Summit of Information Society. But I believe this governance process must continue. And I also believe that countries must approach AI development with caution, strengthen AI governance, and ensure safety before proceeding. Dear colleagues, last October, President Xi of China proposed the Global AI Governance Initiative, which clearly articulated the essence of the global AI governance. In summary, our main focus should resolve around 3 key aspects. First, ensuring that AI technologies benefit humanity. The goal of AI should be to increase well-being of humanity. Second, ensuring safety. Ensuring security. AI should always remain under human control. Third, ensuring equality. All countries should have equal rights to participate in and benefit from the development of AI. Dear colleagues, thank you for your attention to these 4 points. I wish you have a very pleasant weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Liu Zhenmin, for your great, insightful, and wonderful speech, especially on the global governance. Now, let's proceed to our roundtable discussion. Will be chaired by President Henry Huiyao Wang, founder and president of Center for China and Globalization. Floor is yours, Dr. Wang.
So we had a very good keynote from Deputy Prime Minister Tanja Fajon, and of course also from the Special Envoy on Climate Change of China, Minister Liu Zhenmin. And of course, we had also hear from the Secretary General of Bled Strategic Forum, Peter, as well. So I think now we are coming to our roundtable, which is it has a very long history of CCG holding ambassador roundtable. We had actually hold about over a dozen roundtable in the last 2 years, and today we are very honored to have a number of ambassadors joining us at these special occasions. event. And of course, I think that we both, Deputy Prime Minister and also Special Envoy, have mentioned so many points of importance of the global governance and issues. I remember that last year when we went to Slovenia, there was just experienced a heavy flood, which is unprecedented also, and shows the climate change. It's impacting everywhere else. But I think, you know, the topic of today, we can, about this roundtable, we can talk about in what ways that the collaboration between nations and shaped by the large scale challenge that we're facing today, basically. And of course, what are the key elements of proactive approaches that can ensure a long-term global resilience in the face of evolving environmental challenges, and how the global governance framework adapts to effectively address the multifaceted challenges posed by environmental challenges today, and how can we enhance mutual understanding to safeguard the future. And so what role do innovative measures play in shaping the sustainable future, and how can we integrate into the global strategies? And of course, how can we avoid, you know, I mean, double standards sometimes we see now in the international arena, and at the same time taking into account of the specific situation and the context. So we have many issues, topics. I would like to first invite our the Security Council member countries to, according to a country alphabetic order, I would like to invite Her Excellency Ms. Chong An-yin, Ambassador of Guyana, to China, speak first. So we'll be you know, quite time constrained, but let's start from our Ambassador Roundtable. Your Ambassador An-yin, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wang. And I'd also like to express thanks to CCG and also my colleague from Slovenia for granting me the opportunity to have this engagement with, you know, fellow colleagues and distinguished members at this forum today. I just want to start off by saying that I believe I have the right to say that Guyana is the country with the smallest population in attendance here today. We have a population of 800,000 people. And we have, well, we're part of the Caribbean community. And for those of us who've been to the Caribbean and have experienced our warm hospitality, you know that how vulnerable we are to the effects of climate change. And I do agree that sometimes when we speak about climate change, we're not using strong enough terms. We say environmental challenges. I would like to prefer to use the term climate crisis, as many of my colleagues would like to refer to it. And the term actually says how urgent and how important it is that we take immediate action on it. For us in the Caribbean, it's not a matter of when. It's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when. Because all the countries of the Caribbean, including Guyana, are very susceptible to the effects of climate change. Every year, we have massive flooding in Guyana, which wipes out a majority of our agricultural products. And so Guyana has set a very ambitious agenda for itself in the international community. And we want to be a part of the conversation, a part of the solution, and we want to be a part of providing the solution to the global community. And I say that because for Guyana, climate security, energy security, and food security is very important on our agenda. And as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, I think that it is important that we also advocate for countries that are similar in their interests, like Guyana. I think that is important to note, and I know that we've heard this here before this morning, that as part of the global community, we're many, many members. We're different sizes. We have different levels of economic development. We have different interests. We will not agree on every single thing. But it is important for us to find those areas which we have common interests in and to have those very difficult dialogues. You know, it's easy for us to say that we want to have a dialogue, but when it comes to having substantive dialogues that we need and to take immediate action resulting from those dialogues is not something that we're very good at as members of the global community. And as we procrastinate and as we, consider, and the clock is ticking. And as the clock ticks, we are all very vulnerable, and the majority of the global community becomes victims of our procrastination. And so that's why it is important that in addressing all these issues, that we have those constructive dialogues. And in the famous words of my president, President Ali, when he came here in July last year, I remember this very distinctly. He had a interview with CGTN. And what he said really resonated with me. He said that it's not about balance of power now. It's about the balance of responsibility. That is what we need to recognize. And it is also very important to note that members of the international community, the small, vulnerable ones, are the ones that need to have their voices heard. We're the ones that need immediate action. And so it is important that we be given the opportunity to have our voices heard, but also to provide solutions and to be a part of that solution. And so as we have and we continue to have all these engagements about all these important global issues that affect all of us, how do we ensure that in listening to each other, we understand each other, and as a result, we're able to take action that is responsive to our needs? I mean, it's okay for us to talk about all these challenges, but what do we do afterwards? We're still waiting for the $100 billion that was pledged to the global community to mitigate the effects of climate change. But Guyana has not sat back and waited. We have offered solutions. We want to be a part of the global solution. And we want to be a partner bilaterally and multilaterally towards those solutions. It is very easy for us to sit here and say that we want a strengthened multilateral system. We want strengthened international institutions. We want a strengthened financial architecture internationally. But those institutions, those systems are as strong as we want them to be, and they're as strong as we want to make them to be, right? And so when we talk about a very sensitive issue, which was mentioned, double standards, Guyana has chosen to abide by the principles of international law to ensure that we are fair, transparent, and equitable in dealing with our international global issues. And we would like to encourage our fellow members of the global community to take a similar path. It is more than ever in our country's own interests, many of these international issues. But sometimes when you have a conflict of interest, as we've learned in Guyana, it's always better to take decisions based on principles. And so I leave you with just a small annotation today, is that we live in a global world that is borrowed from our children and from our future generations. What are we to do while we're here to ensure that when we give it back to them, it's in a sustainable manner in which they can now carry on the works of making our world sustainable, safe, and stable for their future generations. And I just like to leave you with that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Chow, for your excellent speech. Of course, I strongly echo the point that is, countries may have differences, but we need to find a common, ways of dealing with the common challenge, like climate change, which is the largest, by far, the largest threats to the human being. And we have to organize and work together, absolutely. And so, thank you for your constructive statement. Now, next, I would like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Kasugi Kenji, Ambassador of Japan to China, to share your view, also as a member of security member countries. Please, Ambassador.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies. Thank you for your invitation to this important meeting. I feel very honored to be here today. At the outset, I felt very obliged to argue against the statement by His Excellency Liu Zhenmin on sustainability and economic security. But for the sake of other diplomatic colleagues and because of the time constraint, I'd rather not to do so today. I would like to focus my attention on how to enhance global resilience on climate change. As we see the multilateral frameworks encountering all sorts of difficulties, starting from UN Security Council's paralysis and inefficiency, as the Deputy Prime Minister referred to, I think we may better focus on the plurilateral approach for now. That means that like-minded countries get together and try to find a common solution for problems, global common agenda items, and then expand the scope of the membership as we move forward. And in that area, I wish to draw your attention to two sets of pragmatic approach, which Japan has been promoting in the area of climate change. One is what we call a joint crediting mechanism, JCM. That is a kind of carbon credit exchange program which intend to supplement the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. Japan so far concluded agreement with 28 partner countries, primarily Asian countries. Of course, the scope is limited and the effect may be somewhat restrained, but I think like-minded countries getting together and promote a common concept is always important. Another example is what we call Asia Zero Emission Community. Short form is AZEC. As you may know, many Asian countries still heavily dependent on fossil fuels. So while we vigorously promote the use of renewable energy, we try to make the best use of our existing fossil fuel facilities by introducing so-called co-firing of coal with biomass, ammonia, and hydrogen, and also introducing CCUS technology, carbon capture, utilization, and storage technologies. So far, 11 countries are joining this AZEC, Asia Zero Emission Community concept. And by doing so, we will try to achieve zero emission at our coal fossil fuel facilities. We know that this idea is not that popular among countries, particularly countries in Europe, but we believe that it is a very pragmatic and doable solution for many Asian countries. That's all I would like to say at this moment. And thank you very much once again for your invitation to this very important meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Kenji, for your for your sharing of the views on the climate, which is absolutely, we all have a consensus on how we can fight this together, even we have some differences. Now, I'd like to invite His Excellency Ambassador John Bustow, Ambassador of Malta to China, to share your view, because we know Malta is also island country, but of course you must feel deeply on many of the issues that we touched today on the climate as well. Your turn, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Excellency Minister, thank you, Alenka, for this invitation, Henry and Mabel. Yes, I was laughing inside when I heard my ambassador of Guyana saying 800,000, she considers herself the smallest here. Actually, she's not. But like Slovenia and other also European member states, there's a number of small states currently on the Security Council. We are currently also president for this month of the Security Council. During our first presidency of the Security Council last February, we commemorated the first anniversary of the war in Ukraine, which was, as you may imagine, a very, very strong meeting, which sent some very strong messages, but the situation did not change much. In this month as well, we saw that there was an event last Thursday with a vote on the Security Council on a resolution tabled by Algeria again. I mean, you start to question when the highest body of the United Nations, which came out of the ashes of the Second World War, is unable to resolve situations as we are currently facing. I mentioned as well that we are chair in office of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. We didn't ask for this to be in this position, but the situation was such that there was consensus within this only security organization for Europe. Consensus could only converge around Malta, and we took on the role, notwithstanding our position as an elected member of the Security Council. So seeing all this, I mean, one says that probably the upcoming summit of the future to be organized in September comes at the right time. But also there are skeptics who say, I mean, there couldn't probably be a worse time for the upcoming summit, because as Peter mentioned, with his quote from Gramsci, across several spheres, there are geostrategic, technological, climatic, demographic. We are transitioning to a new underlying set of conditions and parameters. And probably this will form the backdrop of global risks that will play out for the next decade. The fact is that the world has made rapid strides across most human development indicators over recent decades. Tangibly in China, we can see that all around us. But the fragility of these collective gains is evident, in particular with the COVID-19 pandemic, which challenged global advancement with visible reversals in 2020 across multiple economies and regions, as progress led with respect to education, healthcare, poverty, economic mobility, or the ability to improve economic status and related outcomes. I highlight a point made by the Global Risk Report from the World Economic Forum on the current trajectories for global warming. I heard very, very closely the presentation by Ambassador Zhenmin, that global warming means that at least one climate tipping point, or the threshold at which long-term, potentially irreversible and self-perpetuating change to a planetary system occurs, could be passed within the next 10 years. Under nearly all IPCC scenarios, the 1.5% degree centigrade threshold will be crossed in the early 2030s. Based on the latest research, at least 4 systems are considered likely to flip at 1.5 degrees Celsius. Low altitude coral reefs die off, and we heard our colleague from Guyana, the experience they have. Collapse of the Greenland and West Antarctic ice sheets, and abrupt thawing of permafrost. There is also new evidence to suggest that the North Atlantic subpolar gyre circulation could additionally be placed at risk at 1.5 degrees Celsius, with the boreal forest, mangroves, and seagrass meadows all will start to become vulnerable. As Malta, we have a perspective, of course, of being a small state, and having previously been part of the SIDS group, we have a deep affinity with SIDS and actively support them in building resilience to environmental challenges. We have initiatives which encompass a range of activities, including capacity building to the Small State Center of Excellence, which is based in Malta, and co-chairing the UN Steering Committee on Partnership for SIDS, organizing webinars on SIDS-specific themes, launching initiatives like Islands for States as well, collaborating with other entities. To conclude, I'm an optimist. The future is not fixed. A multiplicity of different futures is conceivable over the next decade. Although this drives uncertainty in the short term, it also allows room for hope. Alongside global risks and the era-defining changes underway lie unique opportunities to rebuild trust, optimism, resilience in our institutions and societies. It is my hope that we heed the vital call to action for open and constructive dialogue among leaders of government, business, and civil society to take action to minimize global risks and build long-term opportunities and solutions. Small states, of course, have a contribution in this regard, and I believe we are doing it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Ambassador Bristol, and from Malta, very unique view and important to know. But actually, we all share so many things in common, particularly on the environment. Now, I'd like to invite Her Excellency Ms. Alenka Suhatonik, as the Slovenian ambassador, also is one of the also organizer of our event. I appreciate all the support the Slovenian embassy giving to this event as well, in welcoming the Deputy Prime Minister Fajon. So your turn, please.
Already did the overview of global environment landscape and Slovenian climate governance ambitions. And as we all know, it's always difficult to speak after the minister. So I will make just two minor points and addressing one of the questions asking on innovative measures and global strategies. Several of the predecessors already mentioned that we are approaching the Summit of the Future that was initiated in 2022. One of the tenets of the Summit of the Future is intergenerational solidarity, or as it is said, solidarity between peoples and future generations. I would like to bring attention to a book on climate fiction that was published 2 years before the Summit of the Future was announced. The title of that climate fiction book is The Ministry for the Future. It follows, so the plot of the book is the following. It follows an international organization deriving out of the Paris Agreement, named the Ministry for the Future, which acts as an advocate for the world's next generations of citizens, as if their rights were as valid as the present generations. So I believe that the art, or at least a good art, is announcing the future, is announcing the word to become. In our profession, it's very good to be able to detect how the word is going to turn out, I would say. But what is also true about the art, and maybe some other facets of life, is that is lurking on the margins. Before we spoke, it was mentioned small yards, big fences. But I would also mention the margins. Maybe from the margins, we can see further or differently, or maybe simply we are not blinded by the central spotlight, also referring to Guyana's introduction. The second point would be that we really need to look, when we are speaking about global climate governance, we need to look into different facets of our societies. For instance, the global report on effective governance, also from last year, mentioned that while cities hold 70% of global population and account for 80% of energy consumption, so altogether, overall, 70% of human-induced environmental impact is produced in the cities. They are not part of they are not streamlined in the global governance. So we are talking about 70% of population, 80% of the impact, and how, when we are thinking about the global governance structure concerning the climate, we should be innovative and looking into certain facets that are not yet properly integrated in our common deliberation. Mind you, there are also, of course, cities, as per usually, also the global hubs of innovation that are already producing new solutions to address climate change at the same time. I must say, first time we met with His Excellency Liu Zhenmin when we were both invited by CCG to speak at the roundtable on China, US, EU, and global climate dialogue for a sustainable 21st century. The discussion, of course, revolved around global climate governance and green development at the time of climate crisis and other global challenges. We came to a common understanding that what is urgently needed is cooperation among China, the US, and Europe. While that is correct, also as you pointed out on the emission side and possibility to address the climate change, as that is properly, one needs to ask how to include everybody in that deliberation. And if I may just briefly return to the Ministry for the Future, as you can see, that is one of my favorite books. The Ministry for the Future always returned, being part of climate science, returned to the point that diplomacy and appropriate governance structures are the only way out of the climate crisis. And once referring to the roundtable last fall, which pointed out the three main emitters, the question I think that needs to be asked today, isn't the time that the climate security is also properly mainstreamed in the main security body that the international community has, that is UN Security Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Alinka. Yeah, you have mentioned a lot of good points, actually, and certainly the Future Summit is something that we all have to really pay great attention to, and really how can we assemble some common consensus, and also you mentioned about this non-traditional threat like climate and possibly AI, as Minister Liu mentioned, probably should all in the future be looked at by the Security Council. And of course, giving all the security member country here have a huge responsibility for the global peace and stability. And now I'd like to invite our final representative from Security Council member countries, His Excellency Mr. Jörg Burry, Ambassador of Switzerland to China, to give your comment, because I know Switzerland is very active in mediating, peacemaking, and all the efforts. Ambassador, please.
Minister, Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the invitation, Dr. Wang, to this very important workshop. I always hope to be invited to one of your workshops or fora when my notebook starts running out, so that I get a fresh one. I must say, I'm also particularly pleased that these efforts of the countries that are here at the table to position themselves as E10 are supported by your institution. And I can tell you, Minister, that we are a very active group of E10 members here in Beijing. We do not only exchange opinions, but we also look for dialogue with our Chinese interlocutors together. And I can also assure you that your ambassador here is certainly a very good exponent of the great diplomacy of a small country that the Chinese colleagues have mentioned. On global issues, there are issues that we have to tackle by ourselves, and there are issues, and a big number of issues, that we have to tackle together. And Switzerland, as a neutral country, always tries to bring itself into the position. We may not have the critical mass to give the critical impulse to master the global issue together, but to bring the countries that can master those issues together to one table. And currently, peace and security has been mentioned on Ukraine. The International Peace Conference on Ukraine is certainly something which is very strong on our agenda. But also, I would like to mention our permanent contribution to the security in the region, the Zermatt roundtable. And I'm very happy that I see various participants in this roundtable here at the table. I would like to come to the more specific issue of this morning's event, and that is the global resilience against climate change. And that is indeed a very relevant topic. And as you have mentioned, Excellency, Mr. Liu, as closer as you come to the coast, the more relevant the event climate change becomes. But also Switzerland is very affected, because also as higher up as you go, the more sensitive our natural surroundings are. This is one effect that has been mentioned of the permafrost that comes down, and so it loosens the rock structure of the mountains, and you have many more landslides, mudslides. And second, of course, the change of the vegetation at these levels is very sensitive. And I think to Slovenia, we even have initiatives together in that field, and all other mountain countries should be very engaged and aware of this. The Swiss federal government has just adopted these foreign policy priorities for the next 4 years, so priorities 24 to 27. And climate is now one of our key priorities of foreign affairs, and it goes along 3 axes. The first of all is climate change, where again, to our Chinese host country, we are a country that is sharing technology. I would like to mention the very interesting program that we have together with the People's Republic of China on zero-emission buildings. But we also want to share technologies like to CO2 storage and so on, like it has been mentioned by Japan. The second priority is biodiversity, and here we are very much on the Slovenian turf, which is the coordination of conventions, and achieve that the goals are more integrated. Also for us, the Kunming-Montreal global biodiversity framework is a very high priority. And of course, also there must be aid programs to developing countries. In both topics, climate change, biodiversity, and pollution, the more wealthier countries must liberate funds to help the poorer countries. And then the third one is energy. We are actually currently working on a national new energy strategy, and the access to renewable energy, also access to renewable energy for less wealthy countries is a priority there. And having presented these three priorities that all have a national and a multilateral element, I would like to come to the end with a maybe more simple remark. And that remark is that my embassy, the Embassy of Switzerland in China, last year has also become a member of the Sustainable Embassies Network of Switzerland. So these are formal criteria that you have to meet, that you can become a member of this Swiss network. And consequently, I am also a very proud member of the Ambassadors for Nature group here in Beijing. I see a couple of fellow ambassadors, and those who are not yet, I very kindly take the occasion, please allow me to abuse of my time, to invite you. There are no formal criteria to become an ambassador for nature in Beijing, except you have to have a big one or a small one track record. And I think that's a very good start. And with that, I thank again for the time and for listening to me.
Yeah. Thank you, Ambassador Berry, for your also wonderful remarks, and congratulations for the nature of ambassador, and also Embassy of Switzerland being part of the clean networks, climate sustainable network. So this is a great. I think we have just get a round of the representative of the Security Council member countries' ambassadors' view on the common challenges facing us, and then we have a big consensus here that we have to work together on the climate, and of course on renew this global governance, and this also to really find ways to meet the challenges that was really we have the presence of Her Excellency Deputy Prime Minister Tanja Fajon visiting China on this occasion, and also Minister Liu, who is the Special Envoy on China climate change, to actually participate. And then here, our security member country ambassadors here in Beijing to talk about those common challenges, and that we need to work together. And this is very significant, and we have many representatives here also from other different countries. We have actually about 10 other countries embassy representative presented today at our roundtable. Now, for this, I would like to invite two Chinese commentators for this ambassador roundtable as concluding remarks. First, I would like to invite Mr. Li Gao. He is the member of the Environmental Resource Protection Committee, National People's Congress, but he's also the former Director General of the Department of Climate Change, Ministry of Ecology and Environmental of China. So, Mr. Li, please, your comments.
Thank you, CCG's invitation to this roundtable. I understand it's a roundtable of ambassadors, but I'm not. But all the ambassadors, including Her Excellency Deputy Prime Minister Fajon and my previous boss, Special Envoy Liu Zhenmin, talking about climate. In fact, in the past 20 years, climate change is my only work. And I spend almost all the time in the UNFCCC process. And it was tough when we sit into the negotiating room because different countries have different interests, but negotiators also bear in mind that it's our common challenge. we need to find out common solution. So each time when we went out from the negotiation room, we have progress. And if you look back, this year is the 30th anniversary of UNFCCC's taking effect. If you look at this process in a term of 30 years, 20 years, or 10 years, you can see the big progress. And especially last year in Dubai, I was no longer a negotiator. I was the vice president of COP28. And I was very happy to see the progress. Countries agreed that they're going to move to a non-fossil fuel energy system. It's a very big progress. And I think UNFCCC in the past, in fact, paved the way for a global trend for a green and low carbon development. And it shaped countries' policies on energy, low carbon industry, and technologies. And I think still we have a lot of things to do, especially we are facing a lot of the new challenges. Some speakers mentioned about. I think in terms of climate challenge is not independently linked with a lot of things. If we look at this topic, I think in order to do a better job in the future, we also need to address some significant issues, including we need to work together to reduce or avoid negative impact of unilateralism, protectionism, and geopolitics to global efforts to address climate change. These kind of things will bring a lot of burden to global joint efforts. Some research has already pointed out, if this kind of trend continue by 2030, it will increase our PV solar's cost by 20 to 25%. It's not made the cost going down, but increase the cost. And the second thing, I think we still need to make great efforts. International community or the global climate governance need to continue to enhance the support to developing countries. Ambassador Anning mentioned about 100 billion US dollars. It was a commitment made by 2009 by developed countries, but still haven't met. So, but developing countries need even more than 100 billion US dollars. And they also need to access to those climate-friendly equipment technologies. So how to help them is a big challenge. And another thing is also very important, how we can make sure in the next 20 or 30 years, the global efforts to address climate change will go in a just, equitable way. Why I raise this issue? If you look at I think we have already agreed that by 2050, we are going to achieve the net zero globally. But if you look at the developed countries' targets, they also set their targets in 2050. So what's the requirement for developed countries? So I think this is a very big question for all of us. We need to make joint efforts to address climate change, our common challenge, but at the same time, we need to further enhance our global climate governance to make sure this process is just and equitable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So appreciate Mr. Lee gave us some concrete, suggestions and also measurements, how we can really continue to strengthen our capacity to fighting the climate change. So appreciate your comment. Now, last but not least, I'd really like to invite Ambassador Ma Keqin. She's the Executive Vice Chair, China National Committee for Pacific Economic Cooperation. And also she's the former Chinese ambassador to Finland, to Philippines, to Czech Republic. So she's familiar with both Asia and of course, Europe. I'm glad, Ambassador Ma, please.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, friends and experts, good morning. I will be very short. I find this discussion very enlightening and rewarding. A few words to reflect on some ideas. Facing multiple challenges today, the world is urgently seeking for solutions. Building a community with a shared future for mankind is China's solution to the question of what kind of world to build and how to build it. China has also proposed to build an equal and orderly multipolar world and a universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization. China's vision and initiatives are inclusive and constructive in nature and go beyond the absolute zero-sum game mentality, reflecting the shared aspirations of nations in the world. In our Asia-Pacific region, there is an ever-strengthening appeal by the majority of the regional countries that the region should not be an arena for geopolitical rivalry, but an area of cooperation. By prioritizing cooperation over geopolitical rivalry, we have promoted trade and investment liberalization and facilitation and bolstered economic integration of the region with some established arrangements like RCEP, CPTPP, and DIPA. As a result, in the past 3 decades, the region has maintained a robust growth and contributed 70% of global economic growth. Now, the countries and economies in the region continue to work towards building an Asia-Pacific community by 2040. So cooperation has proved to be the right way and has benefited all. Hopefully, the trend of cooperation instead of confrontation and rivalry in our region could sustain and could serve as a positive showcase to the other parts of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Ma, for your final remark. Actually, absolutely, we need more stability, and Asian is probably now the largest economic growth contribution. As you said, 70% of global GDP growth. It's enormous, all in Asia. So we have to unify and strengthen our cooperation among Asian countries as well, and of course, and also with other countries like countries from Europe and US and everybody. So appreciate your comment. I think we probably, because time, we're already 10, 20 minutes behind schedule, but I think this roundtable is very productive, very enlightening and very stimulating. And of course, in honor of Deputy Prime Minister Fajon's visit, we had, because Slovenia just elected as a Security Council member this year, and we have the other Security Council member countries. And also, of course, we had our former Under Secretary of UN, United Nations, Ambassador Mr. Liu. He's also just assumed the climate envoy representative of China this year. So we have so many things that are happening, and this is a great discussion. We're going to make a good summary, and we're going to carry this also on stream living as well. And I think we have also prepared very good references for all our government and for the future summit of UN. And we also, you report to the UN coordinator here in China. So I think this is very stimulating, very productive, and I appreciate all of you taking such a valuable time out of your Saturday weekend to join us. So we will have a group photo of all our roundtable guests And of course, before doing that, we have a little token of appreciation of Deputy Prime Minister Fajon's visit to CCG. So I would like to present that little gifts of a panda, silk panda from our home country, from hometown actually. Yeah. So sorry. Also, the Prime Minister also gave us a little souvenir. Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.